process industry brings to the region in excess of £10 billion worth of sales.
The health of the industry in the North East is absolutely booming.
I think the North East has a number of skills, a number of expertise that make it vital to the process industry, and I think the process industry is vital to the North East.
The unique advantages that the North East has for the process industry is that it's been here for years.
At the beginning of the 19th century, Middlesbrough was a farm where 25 people resided. And then in the late 1820s, the Stockton and Darlington Railway was extended across the Tees to Middlesbrough, where port facilities were developed. And that set in motion the growth of the town, so that by 1911, the year in which the famous Transporter Bridge opened, its population was 104,000 people.
Wilton site started in the 1940s when it was ICI. It developed and it flourished, and then in the late 90s when ICI started to divest the businesses, some of the big well-known chemical companies came in and bought up those sectors of the business. So now Wilton site is a truly international site. Sembcorp are involved in lots of different projects at this moment in time. The first major one for us was the biomass boiler, but also in the next few months we're about to commission our new gas turbine, which will be the second in the fleet.
The scale of these industries is enormous. This site has many power stations focused on just providing energy to these people. The size of the pipelines, the amount of materials. In fact, the whole of Teesport, 70% of the goods that go out of Britain's second biggest port are associated with this industry.
People are enormously proud of the chemical industry of Teesside. It's a major employer in the region. It's part of the skyline. People know their home when they see the cooling towers of the chemical works, and it's all part of the heritage of this region.
People who work here, their grandfathers have worked here, so it's very, very important for the local community.
Living in Redcar, it was always part of the backdrop of the site. Obviously for people coming in for the first time, I think coming over the hills when you first see the skyline, it looks tremendous. Also on a night time when it's all lit up and everything, I think that looks spectacular. The site now has been in my family for 3 generations. My granddad's come through, my dad, and then now me and my sister. If this site hadn't have been here, we would have had a completely different standard of life.
CPI's role with the companies in the industry is absolutely crucial. Innovation is a very risky activity, and what CPI does is we work with companies to reduce the innovation risk and to help them develop new products and new processes to take to market.
CPI is very special. It's one of the few places where academia and industry can work together to take their research ideas and actually physically put them together, building plants and testing them on a real scale before building a big plant like the ones we see behind me.
PTEC is a major investment by the North East in the future of printable electronics. It offers a very low-cost way of making some of the electronics that society is going to need as we move forwards, whether it's displays or it's solid-state lighting or it's even capturing the power of the sun to generate electricity. The building behind me represents the major investment, and what we now believe is that this is no longer a regional initiative, it's a national initiative, and I believe that PTEC is the national centre for this industry.
It's very important for the process industries to think in green and renewable terms, partly because there's regulatory pressure to reduce CO2 emissions, but more importantly there's customer demand now for fuels made in a low carbon way from sustainable feedstocks.
Growhow are a chemical manufacturer and a fertiliser manufacturer. They make ammonium nitric acid at Billingham and convert that into a fertiliser for the farming industry.
Growhow supplies with the utilities, carbon dioxide, electricity and steam, and we can take those individually as opposed to a traditional glasshouse unit.
We've got a very good relationship with John Barder. The two sites are connected by what we like to call an umbilical cord.
So we take byproducts from Growhow industrial process who are producing ammonia for the fertiliser and industrial use, and we take these byproducts and use them within the glasshouse complex.
In the future, I think there's lots of opportunities for other partnerships to develop, even unusual ones. This one demonstrates that unusual partnerships can work.
Here at Newcastle University's Cockle Park Farm, we're building the Creel project, the Centre for Renewable Energy from Land. We're looking at technologies like gasification, pyrolysis and anaerobic digestion that turn waste streams from crops and from animals into energy. And we're also developing technologies for novel ways of making biodiesel and bioethanol. Willow was one of the favourite feedstocks for those because it's got a low carbon footprint.
Believe it or not, I'm very close to average age for this industry, so we need lots of young people to join us.
Our role is to upskill and create a world-class workforce for the process industries. We will draw on the expertise of employers and we will draw on the expertise of our new accredited training providers, bringing together those two groups so that they can work in harmony and create this new world-class workforce.
This is the best paid industry in the North East by a mile, and we need our local young people to understand that, get the skills they need to come into the best industry in the region.
One North East's focus on the process industry is very important to protect the industry and to ensure that it's invested in the future.
I think the North East is an ideal place for the process industry. We've got a lot to offer.
The North East process industry is already world-beating and will continue to be. The things that make it world-beating are our own resources, our skills, our ability to operate and manage complex chemical plants.
We've got products, we've got services, we've got skills, and it's a really good place to develop and build on what we already have.
I think the prospects for the process industries here in the North East are very bright. There's a huge opportunity to embrace a big demand for a low carbon version of the process industries that we've built up in the past.
We're known throughout the world as a place to do business with, as a place for the process industry to be located.
We wouldn't have cars, we wouldn't have medicines, we wouldn't have the colourful houses we have without this industry.
It's an exciting place to be, it's very dynamic, it's changing and it's so important to the UK economy.